Good evening and welcome to the May 27th Thursday night edition of Legit Fantasy Basketball. We're going to cover the first round playoff series, get you guys all caught up to date on where the series stand right now, what's upcoming, what our thoughts are, what our concerns are. And speaking of things I'm concerned with, we're going to welcome the face that runs this place, aka King Mike L. King, how you doing tonight?
Hey, doing great there, genius. How are you doing?
I am I'm doing well, I think. I'm a little your hair's got me thrown off a little bit, but I think we could probably make it through. Anything you want to mention?
Yeah, we'll be fine, Kev. You know, I made a lot of jokes last week about LeBron. You know, maybe some of them a little below the belt. So I'm going to try to be a little nicer this week because people kind of say I'm like the LeBron James of comedy, meaning I'm balding and Delonte West had sex with my mother.
You know what? I don't have a segue. I was going to leave it as speaking of the LeBron James of and welcome Coach TJ because he's in my universe. Coach TJ is the LeBron James of coaches. I don't think. You know what? I'm just going to welcome Coach TJ. Coach, bail me out, please. How you doing?
I mean, I'd rather be the LeBron James of anything than the Kyrie Irving of anything.
You guys are giving me nothing to work with to welcome the next guy because I don't think Brother Ray wants to be the Kyrie of anything either, but we're going to invite him anyway. We're going to stumble. We're stumbling out of the gate. This is what we call a show that is stumbling out of the gate. Brother Ray, can you please bail me out? How you doing?
Yeah, things can only get better, I would hope, Genius. I got to say, the Kings, maybe he's a Schroeder fan, right? He's got the blonde hair, Schroeder.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of that in there. You got to love the Knicks fans for the chant the other night. We'll get into that in a bit.
Yep.
That chant was fantastic.
Oh, I can't wait.
Hey,
right.
Kev, really quick. They just canceled. Well, they didn't cancel, but they delayed the preview of Space Jam 2. Halfway through the movie, LeBron quit the Toons team and joined up with the Monsters.
All right. That's you're averaging a LeBron joke a minute. I hope this is a pace that's impossible to keep up. This is like when I'm doing math for over unders in game. I'm like, there's no way they can keep this pace up, and I'm betting you under 47.5 LeBron jokes. So
all right.
Your pace is going to slow a little bit.
Here we go.
Speaking of slower paces, we're going to talk about the Bucks Heat series. Those games scores were pretty low, actually, comparatively to what they were in the regular season. Although the Bucks put up 132 in the last game. This game is actually in progress right now. I haven't been watching it. I don't even know the score, so it's a mystery to me. So let's talk about it. I guess. What do you guys think heading into Game 3? Bucks are up 2-0, convincing second game win at home. One of the things I wanted to ask if anybody has an opinion, like, is this the Jimmy Butler game? Like, can he get Miami back on track, or are they just done and stick a fork in them? It's over. We'll go with Brother Ray first, since he's our Jimmy Butler, resident Jimmy Butler expert.
Yeah, I really don't think this is about Jimmy Butler. I really don't think this is about the Heat. Milwaukee, in my opinion, is the best team right now in the league, in the association. The way they've been playing, they've been lights out. And that their top three right now, I would put with any top three, including Brooklyn, the way they're playing right now. They're lights out.
Coach, what do you think? You agree with Brother Ray? You think Miami has a shot, or this is just kind of window dressing for the rest of it?
This is a formality. Now, if Miami came out and jumped on them early tonight at home, I might have had a different perspective. But they come out in the first quarter flat. They only score 14 points in the first quarter. Milwaukee has a double-digit lead. Giannis only has 3 points, and Milwaukee's still way ahead. So obviously Miami didn't show up to play. There's no way they're going to win 4 in a row if they lose tonight. I thought this would be a much better series than what it's proved to be, and maybe Brother Ray's right. Maybe if Milwaukee's just that good, then they're just that good. But I thought Miami had at least a puncher's chance. Appears not.
Hey, and before we get to King, I wanted to mention something. So one of a very common narrative bet is, the team is down 2-0. They drop the first 2 on the road. They come home, and if you look at the line, usually that team is favored for the first quarter and the first half, even if they're expected to lose the game. That bet used to have like a 64 first half. Used to have like a 64% chance of hitting, but obviously sports books have adjusted everything. So if you're talking to one of your friends who's like, "Wow, I have this angle," the Heat's down 0-2, or the other teams that are in that scenario down 0-2, they're playing at home. They're going to start hot. They're going to have a really good first half. Bet them. Don't do it. Like, be like the Celtics would be the other team in that fits that category. So there's a little tip there. So. King, you look like you're in a massive amount of pain. Was it because of the betting? Is it because of the heat?
Yeah, look at all these numbers. I didn't think math was going to be part of this thing, dude. That's a lot of stats you just threw at us, for Christ's sakes. 64% of the time when they play game 3, they wear white shoes. Let me tell you something. After Jimmy Butler wins the NBA championship this year, he's going to shut off his Xbox and go to sleep.
All right. I think so we're thinking he probably dropped this one since it's already in progress. Like I said, if I mentioned to you guys earlier, I was trying to get a bet in Bucks minus 1.5. Couldn't do it. I missed the tip off because we were talking football. But that's where I would have gone. So we'll see. All right, the next one that's a little bit later tonight is Suns plus 6.5 at the Lakers. Over under is 212. That series is tied 1-1. I'm sure all of you watched Game 2 Tuesday night. The Lakers won 102 in Phoenix. A lot of stuff kind of came out in that game. Obviously, Chris Paul's injury that really made him ineffective. I was really disgusted with the AD jump shot kicking Jay Crowder in the groinal crotchal region. I thought that was kind of silly. I thought the Lakers did a good job. I think if they play big, the Suns are going to have trouble because they can do AD and Drummond and and the Suns really only have Ayton to kind of really match up well. So I'm starting to be worried about the Suns in this series. We'll go in reverse order. King, you want to go first? Your thoughts on Lakers Suns?
Honestly, I think if I'm going to be serious for 1 second, I think the Suns are a great team, a lot of fun to watch. But I think that it's part of my course. The Lakers are going to win. The Lakers will win, and they'll be there against the Nets. Kev, do you know why he drives an automatic, LeBron James?
I do not.
He has no clutch.
How many is that?
At least 5. 5 on him, 4 on him, 5 overall.
All right, cool. All right, Coach, what do you think this game? Suns plus 6.5 at the Lakers, and then just the series overall.
Tonight, I like Phoenix. I think it'll be a closer game. I I wish I knew what exactly was going to happen with Chris Paul. AD lived on the foul line the other night. He just lived there. He must have taken 20 free throws. And if you're going to get that version of AD that's not settling for step backs and pullbacks and bombs, if he's going to be aggressive like that, it's going to be tough. I really want Phoenix to win the series. I do. I just can't see unless Chris Paul's playing 100%, which it doesn't look like he's going to be. And this is the thing with Chris Paul. This is the second time he's been on a really good team, and then in the playoffs he's banged up. That's not. I love to defend the guy, but geez, you got to give me some information to work with. I mean, that Houston team one year was loaded, and he's going to miss Game 7. You miss a Game 7, and okay, you were hurt. Now this series. They win the first game, and now if he's a no-show for the rest of the series and they lose, I mean, at some point it becomes a trend, and that is who you are, and it's unfortunate, but that's where we are right now. Again, if AD balls and plays aggressively, goes to the line 10 or more times, I don't see how Phoenix can win, but I do think 6.5 is too big a number for what we're going to get tonight.
Yeah, exactly. And a couple things I wanted your opinion on, and brother, I want you to comment on this too. This is LeBron's first game with a home playoff crowd in LA. It's only supposed to be 6,000 people, but that's like one variable people are talking about, and they're starting to factor home court advantage back into NBA bets. And the number so far is about 3 points. So if you're looking at that, which is kind of interesting, the Lakers actually would only be a 3.5 point favorite without home court, which is pretty tight. So 6.5, I might actually lay a Phoenix bet. I do think that's tight. And then the other thing I wanted to ask about, okay, you have Chris Paul, and he obviously is still hurting his shoulder, and he can't dribble with his right hand. He can't pass. Would you rather he rather have him on the court at say 60% for 25 minutes, or just not have him at all and know you don't have him? Let the players adjust and let the rotations adjust, knowing there is no Chris Paul, and just play the game with that as a certainty rather than wondering what you're going to get. I guess, brother, what do you think of that? And then if any of you else have comments, go ahead.
I want him on the floor. I don't care if it's for 40 minutes or 5 minutes. Whatever we can get out of Chris Paul, I want him on the floor. I mean, everyone knows he's hurt, so they're going to know his limitations. But you want his leadership ability. You want the way he sees the game. You want him on the court. My concern with that, with them right now, is he's obviously hurt. The Lakers, I mean, Schroeder showed up the other game. He had 24 points. We even had a Drummond sighting. So I think if those pieces start contributing, and Harold didn't even play, I mean, if they start getting contributions from other people, and I'm not just talking LeBron and AD, I think it's going to be tough with Chris Paul dealing with an injury.
Coach, what do you think about that?
I've got to wonder this about Phoenix. You come into the season with Chris Paul, who's, no matter how you slice it, he's old for an NBA player. And the best you can do, like you can't get a backup point guard in there? That's just not a thing. There wasn't one guy. I mean, you can find guys off the street that can play backup point guard and give you more than what Cameron freaking Payne's giving you. And I was going to ask, go into the season with an old point guard and say, okay, there was nobody else out there. There was nobody at the deadline. There was nobody that's a serviceable veteran. I mean, Philly goes and gets George Hill. You don't think George Hill helps Phoenix? George Hill helps Phoenix in this series when Chris Paul is banged up, because now you got to play him hurt because the drop off is massive.
So you weren't impressed. Oh, sorry. So you neither. Sorry, go ahead, King, and then I'll ask my question.
I'm trying to tell you, give me 2 weeks and I'll be there. You need a point guard? I got point guard. Just give me 2 weeks. I got to catch my breath. Once I can catch my breath, I'm there. Can't play a lot of minutes though. Can't play a lot of minutes.
Like
Cameron friggin' Payne.
Start 3 minutes.
Start running suicides at Greystone. I'll meet you there.
I'll elbow somebody.
Yeah, but so Coach, Cameron Payne had 19 points, 7 assists. I thought that was a decent showing. What do you obviously you're down on him? What?
Yeah, he had 19 points and 7 assists. He's Cameron Payne, and Schroeder lit him up. So Schroeder comes out of the clouds and just has 25 points. Although Brother Ray did call it on Monday night to look a big game from Schroeder. So yeah, to me, that's not the answer. About winning basketball games, getting those 19 points for him in a game where you're down double figures half the time is not really. It's not doing it for me. I think George Hill will go in there and play some tough defense and keep Schroeder from being a 20-point scorer, and then he's just more effective. He's just a better player. And not that George Hill's the only comp, but to me, when you have Chris Paul, you have to have depth at that position behind your old guys. That's one. And two, Jay Crowder is just too much part of what they're doing over there. And Jay Crowder hasn't been athletic since he was in Boston. Even then, he wasn't athletic. And he's really, almost the slowest guy in the court right now. And that's when the Lakers go big. So those are two big problems. I hope Chris Paul plays tonight because I can't listen. I can't watch LeBron win. I just can't do it.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to mention, this is for Brother Ray, because I know you're in talks with Scorsese to assistant produce the LeBron documentary this year. Did you see him get in Kadarius Caldwell Pope's face for not shooting that 3-pointer in the corner? That was a little Coach LeBron. Telling people how it should run. Although, and Caldwell Pope was 0 for 4 from 3, and he did seize up. He wasn't shooting when he probably should have, but it was really great to see LeBron sprint over, get in his face, start yelling at him. So that'll definitely. I hope that doesn't end up on the cutting room floor because I like to see that side of LeBron also. It
was really, really bad acting. I'm sure he rehearsed that several times too. Yeah. I mean, but the take that they got was really, really bad. I mean, he tries to be Jordan. He tries to be, Bird. He is not that player. He is not the vocal leader in the locker room. I don't care what anyone says. That's not him. That's bad acting. If he has a SAG card, he should rip it up. Someone should rip it up, throw it away. He needs to go back to acting class. Take a class at UCLA or something.
Yeah. It's just not authentic. It's just so not authentic. And if you want to get on somebody for doing something right, you're going to pick Caldwell Pope, who's not even out there to shoot. Like the guy's he's not out there to shoot. You want to do that, or do you want to say something to AD in game one? Because you're not going to say nothing to AD in game one. You got nothing to say to AD. We're going to put this guy on blast, right? With the he's such a phony. He really is a phony.
King, so I know you're into sports memorabilia. If you could get LeBron James's SAG card and give it to Brother Ray as a gift, framed, that would be the most unbelievable gift I think I could think of. All right, gentlemen. So looks like we're going with. We think Phoenix will keep it tight tonight. We're concerned with Chris Paul. Think if the Lakers go big, play tough. AD, plays near the basket like he should. Lakers will probably take the series, but we're thinking Phoenix keeps it close. So I think I'm probably going to put a bet on. I'm actually doing a money line parlay, Lakers and Portland money line. So we'll talk about that a little later. All right. Moving. That is the next game. So the line tonight, it's Nuggets plus 3.5 at Blazers. Obviously, series is tied 1-1. Last game, Blazers lost 109-128 in Denver. Nuggets looked. Obviously, Nuggets looks good. Jokic is just having unbelievable first two games of the series. Like, I've never seen somebody that scores so effortlessly for somebody that size. It doesn't even look. He just flips it up all net every time. He started so hot in this series. It's so much fun to watch. But I just don't think Denver has enough. Like, without it's basically Michael Porter Jr., Jokic, and Aaron Gordon, and then once you get past those three, it gets pretty weak pretty quickly. So I don't think Denver wins the series, but I'm curious what you guys think about the game tonight and the thoughts on the series in general. So, Coach, let's start with you.
This series, just from day one, when the brackets come out, this looks like a 7-game series to me. Every single game is a coin toss. I mean, if I had to say, well, they're important tonight, and maybe the momentum switches back that way. Jokic's a pleasure to watch. To me, it's a coin toss tonight. 3.5. I wish it was a little bit. I'm surprised it's that high, but I'll still probably roll with Portland tonight. Yeah. But this is going to be a 3-week series. This is not going anywhere. And it's fun too, because the way these teams play is fun to watch. So it's not a 7-game series that sucks. It's going to be a 7-game series that's interesting. Every single game is like its own story, and the more the teams play off one another and make the adjustments, I think it's only going to be better and better and better. So looking forward to tonight. It's going to be hard because you really can't take your eyes off the Lakers. It's hard to do. So when these two games are going on at one time, it's hard. It's hard to go back and forth. But from an enjoyment standpoint, it's definitely going to be more fun to watch this game. Yeah,
and this one's on NBA TV. So obviously the Lakers are going to get the whatever it is, TNT or ESPN. I think it's ESPN. But I actually bet Portland at minus 3.5 earlier because it was hanging at 4 for the last couple of days, and once it dropped under 4, I was like, I'll hit them at 3.5. King, what do you think of Nuggets at Blazers? Nuggets plus 3.5. And what do you think about the series in general? How it's going?
So it's two teams that don't get a lot of attention, getting some attention. Like, I'm glad to see them both play. I like both different styles in the way they play. It's been going back and forth, and that favors the Blazers, because if it does go 7 games, which I agree, I think it's going to go 7 games, you can't bet against Lillard and the Blazers in a game 7. Just can't do it. So if the Blazers can keep it 1 game, which I think they're going to win tonight, look, they get to game 7, they win.
Okay, even in Denver, you'd go heavy. Yeah. All right. So, Brother Ray, do you agree with that? Is it Dame time is too much? I mean, he dropped 42 in game 2. He had I don't have it in front of me, but I know he had a very good game 1. Also, betting his points unders is a very, very risky proposition. But you think Portland has enough to take it to 7 and then win, or you see the series going a different way?
Yeah, I think it's going to go to 7, and I do think Portland's going to win. I think the difference at the other night basically was, you had Nurkic really had an awful game. I mean, he just really stunk it up. McCollum and Lillard had big games, but if you look at the point, plus minus differential, Carmelo was minus 24, McCollum was minus 23, and Lillard was minus 16.
Yeah.
Then you look at the Nuggets. Porter Jr. and Gordon both had decent nights. So I think that's what happened. Nurkic, awful night. Gordon, Porter Jr. had decent nights. I think, however, as we move on, I like the big three in Portland.
Yeah, and one thing I want to ask you guys, we've all been following basketball for a while, and you kind of have these just sort of narratives, like series narratives. Like one of them is what I talked about earlier. Team loses 2, third game. Paul, we already talked about that. We got Michael upset with the numbers. But one of the other common narratives is, Portland came into Denver. They won game 1. They already got home court advantage. So they don't really care that much about game 2. Denver should win that one, and they did. Do you guys put credence into those kinds of things? Because Portland already took home court back. So losing game 2 isn't that big of a deal for them. Whereas Denver, it's almost a must win. Do you guys believe in that stuff, or does that just BS to sell stuff?
The new NBA is not the same thing. The new NBA doesn't go by those rules as much, I think, as it used to be. If that makes any sense, because they have stars now that can change the game. It doesn't play out as much like that. Not 2 cents.
Coach, you agree?
I never buy into any of that stuff. To me, it's always a one game at a time situation. I mean, I do think if you look at the Lakers series, I think Phoenix is in more of a. This is a more critical game for Phoenix than it is for the Lakers. But to say, okay, the series doesn't start until the road team wins, or to say we already stole one on the road, so we don't need to try and get this one. I don't buy into any of that shit. These games are hard to win at this level. I think teams, they show up to play each game and try and win it. I don't think anybody can get to this point and then feel like they can take their foot off the gas. The only time that may happen is when a team's up 3-0, right? And then you let them win game 4. Somehow game 4 you're just not tuned in for. But in a series that is going to go 7, and I'm sure, or 6, like this one, those players are locked in each and every time out. I don't think it's any kind of a crutch to say they stole one in Denver, so they were cool with losing game 2. I don't think that happens.
And Kev, if they have Tom Brady on the team, there's no way they're going to lose. I don't care who's the coach or what's the plan. They're going to win.
The king. He's the king. He's the king.
And why do you guys get close to the camera when you want to emphasize shit? He's like, blah, blah, blah.
All right, stop. We're talking basketball. This is a respectable show here, although you just lit a cigar and you have blondish hair. And you're wearing a super bad T-shirt.
And I've been drinking.
Coors Light.
I'm Buddy Thayer.
Yeah, is that your beer of the week? It's from a small brewery in Denver.
Every year, my beer of the week is Coors Light.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm pretty sure you turned around and lit something on fire too. So
What is this?
Oh, it's going. Okay, cool. All right. Speaking about being on fire, we got the Knicks at the Hawks for Game 3. Knicks took Game 2 in the Garden. That was funny. That was one where I was like, "There's no way the Knicks are going to drop this game at a certain point." So I ended up betting like money line Knicks in the third quarter, like minus 240, like 240 to win 100. I just couldn't see it happening. I think and there's a lot of strange calls in Knicks games in the Garden over the years. The fans are crazy and Spike Lee and all that stuff. But I am concerned about Julius Randle. I love what I'm seeing from Derrick Rose. He's playing awesome. But Randle did not have a great game. So that's 2 in a row. And I asked you guys about this last time, and you were all kind of convinced that that Randle would kind of step it up. So Game 3 in Atlanta, that's tomorrow night. It's Knicks +4. Over-under is 211. So we'll start with Brother Ray.
You know what? It was just beautiful to see what a full MSG house did to that game and the energy on the floor. It made me feel so good to see those New York fans going crazy with the chant, Trey, Trey is balding. I mean, just unbelievable. That is basketball. That's the association right there. We needed to see that. We finally saw it. But I think the Knicks right now, they have too much. I think they have too much for Atlanta. Atlanta's a solid team, but I don't think they have the heart for this. I don't think they do. There's something with this Knicks team right now that there's something there. There's something here, and I don't think it can be stopped.
All right, Coach, you agree with that assessment? Because I actually think the Hawks are. I think the Hawks have a ton of talent. So I'm kind of curious your take on this one.
I do too, but for two things quick. A lot of heat, man, on dudes' freaking hair, like Trae Young's hair. Is anyone not seeing Gallinari run around out there? What the hell is he doing?
I know, but
I don't know. I'm Italian, y'all.
Let me interject. Stop, TJ. Here's the problem. They started chanting Trae is balding, and he had a look on his face like he never heard that before. Like,
well,
that's what the problem. My problem was. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think we can confirm that he doesn't watch this podcast. I think we can confirm that. All right, sorry,
he doesn't
Coach.
have
Go
a
ahead.
beard either. Like, someone tells me their hair's turning gray. It's not shocking. I have a mirror. Like, I know what's going on. But Gallinari is a disaster. As far as the Knicks go, I want to see more out of Randall also, right? I want to see more out of Nerlens also. The kid quickly, his shot busted. Like, that's a bad shot. He almost has to like find out. He almost has to relearn how to shoot. Like, he's just heaving up garbage up there. But at the same time, you're right about what you say. The Knicks feel, and Derrick Rose kind of gives you the feeling like, yeah, there is something there. They should be able to win this series. They're the more veteran team. Trae Young's going to continue to score, and they're only going to get better, Atlanta. This is not bad if they lose a series. This is not the end of the world for that operation. But to me, the Knicks are the bigger, stronger team. And there's my chant. There was a chant right there.
Oh, that was a chant? Yeah.
Yeah, so I used to think it was going 7. It's going to be interesting to see how the Knicks play when they're not in MSG, because we still haven't seen that side of it. But these games have been fun. Both these games at the Garden have been fun, and it's good to hear like a full house. It really is.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things, like being in New York, I was hearing stuff like local radio, a lot of people talking about going down there for some of the Knicks games in Atlanta, trying to turn it into a Knicks crowd. Obviously, that won't happen, but I am interested to see if they get any kind of momentum, any kind of real New York turnout down there, because that would be pretty crazy. King, what do you think about the series and the game and the series?
All right, first, Coach says he looks in the mirror and he sees his gray hair, like he sees what's really there. Have you been to the beach? Those people in bathing suits, that they've looked in the mirror too, my friend, but they don't see gray hairs. They see like blonde curly hair from like when they were 12. You know what I mean? Like, come on. I mean, you're the only one who knows what he looks like. All these people are fitting into clothes. It's like 10 pounds of shit in a 4-pound bag. But this whole series changed. Second game, the Knicks, they stepped up as the bully. They stepped up and said, "This is our schoolyard." It changed it. I think maybe the Hawks are more talented. Whole roster. I think the Knicks got the right guys to win this series.
Yeah, it's what's interesting about that game. And this kind of goes to what you were saying, King. The Hawks only scored 35 points in the second half. They were up 57 to like 44 at the end of the first half, and that was kind of like, wow, there's money flushed down the toilet. And then all of a sudden, the Knicks just locked them down. They got I think 18 points in the third, 17 points in the fourth, and they were just completely shut down. If the Knicks can play that kind of defense, obviously that changes everything. But I don't know if you could sustain. Obviously, you can't sustain keeping people in teens for quarters. And but none of you guys actually commented about Game 3. What do you think is going to happen? Tomorrow night. We got Knicks +4.
First, Kev, you need to get one of those big computers that just shoots out papers with numbers on them the whole time as you talk. I think that the roll comes rolling down. You're like looking at it. That's what I feel like you're doing when we're not doing the show. Where did you learn all these numbers about basketball? You weren't watching basketball a couple months ago.
Like, I've watched so much I probably have watched more basketball than the three of you in the last 2 weeks. I haven't missed any game. The only games I've missed since the playoffs started, since the play-in started, were ones where there's conflicts because there's two games on at the same time. And I obviously I can't watch both. And I'm missing a game right now, which actually has me a little upset. Frankly, I'm a little upset that I'm not watching Bucks Heat. So I've gone from nothing to just buried in it. And I don't have an earpiece. All I have is my note card and a couple of browser tabs.
You break out any beakers, I'm leaving. I'm out. Anything off, Bunsen burners, anything like that.
Yeah.
Couldn't do that stuff. I'm out.
All right. So tell me. So game 3 tomorrow night. Knicks +4. What do you think?
Take them.
I'll tell you what, the Hawks are a really good home team. They were all season. The Knicks are not a great road team, and they weren't all season either. So I got to go with the Hawks. 4 points. I feel like the Hawks. 4 points for the Hawks. Trae Young's going to drop 45 is what's going to happen. I like Atlanta game 3.
I really like the Knicks because of Thibodeau. I mean, this team is taking on his identity. And if just watching him last night, he is intense. From the moment he walks into that arena to the moment he leaves, you can see the intensity on his face. And I truly believe it spreads from osmosis to players like Taj, Gibson, to players like Bullock, to players like Nerlens Noel. You see them play with that intensity. Coach is right. Atlanta, talented team, good at home, and Trae's going to come out shooting. I still like the Knicks. I think they're going to punch him in the mouth.
All right, we'll see.
Exactly tonight. Look, 3 of us have coached before, right? Sorry, Kevin. I don't think you've coached.
I coached one game.
All right, 1 game. Okay,
We
one
won.
game. 1 game. So we've all coached
won.
games. We've all seen when another team breaks. Like, mentally, you got them. You might not even be winning the game, but you did something where they just went, oh. It's kind of like when the Gypsy King just rose and Wilder was like, uh-oh. Like, it's one of those moments. And the Knicks laid that on them. They gave them that thump. And I'm telling you, they broke the Hawks. I think the Knicks win tonight, and then I think they win the next night. My opinion. That's how I think this is going to go down. I don't think the Hawks are going to respond.
All right, we'll see. So you're thinking they win game 3 and 4. So that's a very bold call.
Yep.
All right, so we'll see. I kind of like the Hawks in the series, but we'll kind of watch as the games go on. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys before the playoffs started, I bet big on Milwaukee to win the series with the Bucks. So I'm kind of loving this at the moment. All right, so moving swiftly along, we got the next game. Next series is Nets -7.5 at the Celtics. This is a cup that from a game David Evans and I saw in the TD Garden about 3 years ago. It probably cost me $22 for the cup and the beer. We're not going to have many more opportunities to talk Celtics, so I did want to get this on the record.
Did you watch the game, or did you have to explain everything to Dave the whole time?
I was at Fenway Park one time, right, watching a game, and there was this kid behind me explaining to his friend baseball. So the kid, awesome. the friend must have been some kind of foreign national, right? Now, baseball, you can't explain baseball. You either grew up and know baseball. You can't just explain the shit in 5 minutes, right? But the kid was like, yeah, if you hit up into those seats on top of the monster, you get an extra run because they're so far away. And I'm sitting there listening to this guy. So now one guy doesn't know anything about baseball, and the guy who's explaining it knows even less. What an experience that was. What an experience to sit there. Me and my father sitting there like, did you listen to this? Can you hear? And you were talking so loud, it was crazy.
Anyway, the only thing I would say that to, and I hate to interrupt him, sorry. I'm coaching an AAU tournament, and I'm waiting to see what the team's going to be like next that we're playing, right? And I see 2 of their players sitting next to each other, and I'm sitting behind. I got my back to them, and I hear one of the kids say to the other kid, boy, those guys play street ball. And the other kid goes, the only street I know is the one I live on. and I went, we're going to win this game. We're going to crush this team. And we beat them by like 20-some points. I knew the minute I heard that, I was like, they're done. They don't know a thing about the sport. They're in big trouble. And they were.
Oh, man. All right. So the game tomorrow night still is Nets -7.5 at Boston. Total's 227. Nets are up 2-0. They handled Boston very easily game 2. They beat them on Tuesday night, 130 to 108. Is there anything really to talk about this game besides
bitch slapping them? They should get arrested for beating them up.
Yeah. Well, before you guys get into it, I did hear a really funny take that'll probably piss all of you off here. They're talking about Blake Griffin. And Blake Griffin dunked 3 times in that game, 2 were and ones, and he hasn't dunked since 2019 in Detroit. He went like 2 seasons without dunking. Completely gave up on Detroit. They forced them to let him go. Detroit's paying him to play in the playoffs for Brooklyn right now, which is insanity. And then they brought up James Harden, who effectively Blake Griffin quit on Detroit. James Harden effectively quit on Houston, forced his way out there, ended up in Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving quit on the Celtics and ended up as a free agent going to Brooklyn. And they're like the player movement thing. Like obviously you want player movement, you want player empowerment, all that stuff.
Not that way.
Completely quitting on your team and then ending up on a super team. Like when you hear it, like the three of them, like KD, I think did it legitimately. He played on his contract. He was hurt, all that, blah, blah, blah. But those three, it's a great story. It's just a horrible, horrible thing for basketball.
Here's the thing. The way the NBA is, and it's just basketball. You can't do anything about it. When you're one of those max guys, when you're Harden or Blake, the whole franchise has to be built around you. Like in the NFL, outside of a quarterback, you're not really building a whole team on your left outside linebacker. Like if that guy decides he's not going to play up the season, they cut his ass and he goes somewhere else. He's not going to ruin your franchise because there's 22 starters. When James Harden decides he's going to quit, Houston's in the lottery for the next 5 years. And then if these guys can just abandon a franchise like that and then all band together, it's not cool. Like it's not cool. But you know what's even worse than that? Kyrie Irving dropping a passive racism comment ahead of getting booed in Boston, as if there's no reason for Boston fans to boo Kyrie Irving except for them being racist. That is so freaking weak. People in Boston should be booing Kyrie Irving the second he gets off the bus, just like the people in Houston should be booing James Harden the second he gets off the bus. And it doesn't matter what color he is. It's because you plucked the whole freaking franchise. Like you plucked the franchise. And he doesn't get it because he's so self-absorbed, that bastard. Oh, I hate him so much. But he's gonna drop that on Tuesday. So now the NBA comes out with a statement today that we're gonna monitor fan behavior. So the first guy in Boston that throws a piece of popcorn at Kyrie is gonna be like locked up. Like yep. It's just, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. But they should boo him. And those guys moving in Brooklyn is not good. That said, they're gonna win this game by like 20 points, and there's really not a damn thing Boston can do about it.
If Kyrie was a superhero, he would be called the deflector. You can't say anything to the guy without him deflecting it to someone else. My least favorite people are these people. Dude, you played a horrible game. It was just awful. Yeah? Well, Coach TJ couldn't shoot for shit. And Brother Ray doesn't know how to pass. Yeah, dude, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about you. I'm just trying to talk about – he always wants to talk about himself, but if he did something bad, he'll deflect it. He's a deflector. However, Kev, like you said, shame on those teams for taking those guys and thinking they were going to be something with them, and now they just jump ship and you're left with peanuts. Because that Brooklyn team and the Laker team, I'm telling you, I don't like seeing them. I don't like seeing them, and I'm worried about where Kawhi is going to go next year.
Yeah.
But in the series, the Nets are going to kill them. They're bitch slapping the Celtics. Celtics try out for the WNBA next year if they're going to keep playing like it.
And I guess Tatum got poked in the eye, so I could see him sitting just end the season, just get this thing over with as soon as possible. But I'll probably bet Nets minus 7.5 and go from there tomorrow night. All right, so we don't need to spend any real time on that one. Next one, which we probably do want to talk a little bit about, is Clippers at Mavs. So they play tomorrow night also, I believe. Clippers -2 at Dallas. Dallas is up 2-0 already. Mavs handled them 127-121 on Tuesday. That was not a 6-point game. The Mavericks were ahead by much more than that throughout most of it. I actually bet the Clippers. I bought into the narrative hype, and just Kawhi was gonna turn. And Kawhi had a monster game. He had 30 points in the first half. Pretty slow second half. Paul George actually had a decent game, but the Clippers just look like they're missing something up here. Like, is it Tyronn Lue? Is it that Kawhi and George just aren't able to rally people? I mean, I guess what do you guys think? We'll start with who went first last time. I think Coach went. You want to go with King? All right.
Yeah, there's nothing up here with Kawhi. Like you just asked what's going wrong with them. There's nothing going on up there with Kawhi. I don't think he's a thinking man's man. Look, the Clippers, they look deflated. They look like the air's been let out of the balloon. So I don't like them in the series. I don't like them to continue. I think, like I said, I think Kawhi is already looking forward to next year and who he's going to join. Is it going to be the Warriors? Might he go to the Knicks? Ooh.
All right. So what do you think about the next game? Clippers -2 at Dallas, down 0-2.
Dallas.
All right.
But
All right.
I'm riding Dallas. There's certain teams that I'm rolling with. The Knicks, the Mavs. These are teams I'm rolling with until they're just. I love watching them play, so I'm rolling with them. The Mavs got this one.
All right, cool. So we'll go clockwise on my screen. So we'll go Coach. What do you think about the last game, and what do you think about the next game and the series in general?
I don't think Dallas is that much better than the Clippers. I don't feel like they can beat them. I don't think they can sweep them. Like the Clippers are going to win one of these home games. It might as well be Game 3. I like the Clippers in Game 3. They'll come out with something to prove. Here's my problem, and here's a lesson to all coaches. Like, they dropped their last 2 games to shit teams because they wanted to pick their seeding. And, we've seen that happen in the NFL. The Colts used to do it all the time. They would win their division after like 12 games, and then they would start resting guys week 16 and 17. And it's hard to turn that switch back on. Like, you got to play to win the games, and they tried to cheat Mother Nature in a sense, and like, okay, we're gonna lose these games so we can avoid the Lakers, and now you're trying to turn it back on. It's not that easy to do. So, shame on them for doing that. Losing the series is what they deserve, but at the same time, I don't think Dallas is that much better where they're gonna go in there and get 2 wins in Los Angeles and sweep them. I don't see it happening. So I like the Clippers in Game 3.
Continuity,
All right,
though. You said
what is it?
Continuity. Like they're not together. They're not. It's continuity. So, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree. You can't like turn it off and turn it on. Except LA proves us wrong. The other LA team proves us wrong with that. But further, what do you think about the series so far? And then the Game 3.
I mean, I've picked Dallas from the beginning. You guys have heard me every single time
Yep.
we've been on the show. I've just had a feeling looking at those 2 teams that Dallas was the better team coming into the series. I mean, the Clippers were the better team all year, but they just have not been playing well. And a lot of their role players, the Patrick Beverleys of the world, the Batums of the world, even in the beginning of the season, Serge Ibaka, was giving them quality minutes and putting up numbers. They don't have that now. Like they're not getting that performance from that bench. So it's all on the big guys. But I mean, Dallas, on the other hand, they're getting contributions from Hardaway Jr. They're getting contributions from their bench, from Finney Smith. And Porzingis is doing well. Like, there were some doubts. Would he show up in the playoffs? I mean, he's showing up. So right now, and Luka's Luka. We knew Luka was going to be Luka, and he's just brilliant.
Did you see when he backed Patrick Beverley down, scored, and like, you're too small? Like that was kind of
you see when he took a running like John Havlicek level 1-footed runner from the 3-point line and buried it? Is he nuts? Like, he's nuts. But here's one thing though, Brother Ray. You always hear this thing in these kind of series where the role players always play better at home. Right? So you got Finney Smith. Well, Finney Smith didn't really play that good the other night. Bad example. But Hardaway, I don't know if you're going to get 20 out of Hardaway on the road, where you might get 14 from Batum or something like that. So they say in these even series, the role players always play better in the home games. I don't know. I'd never done a study on it, but it seems like it would make sense. And but Doncic is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he blows college out of the water because Luka played with pros like the whole time. Like, he can create offense. He looks like he's been playing for like 10 years. That's my point.
Mm-hmm.
He's got all these offensive moves because he's been playing with guys that he had to use these against. So, like, he's the positive side of not going to college, if that makes any sense, of just becoming like a pro almost. The D League, the C League, whatever they're calling it.
Yeah.
But in those countries, you can, like, he can be a pro. They can start playing when they're like 13 and get paid. Like, they don't give a shit over there. It's not like over here, because over here we have the NCAA that's pretty much I mean, it's just a corporation that's in the middle. It's like a pass-through corporation. But overseas, they're like, no, you're 13. You want to? Dirk Nowitzki started playing basketball 9 hours a day when he was like 8 years old. And it's like, yeah, okay. Instead of, you don't need to know how to do. Don't worry about freaking world history, buddy. Go learn how to shoot one-handed jump shots.
If you can shoot like they shoot, you've shot the ball a lot. Like you know what I mean? You have to shoot a lot to be able to shoot like they shoot.
Yeah, that's a great point.
He's going to be able to do it for a long time because he's not like when Derrick Rose came in and he relied on being explosive. He doesn't rely on any of that shit. He's just good with the ball and he buries shots.
Yeah. So the last thing I have to ask it: playoff Rondo, not a thing anymore. Still a thing? Doesn't look like it's a thing. Are we expecting big things at home? As Coach said, he might step up his game back in LA, or is playoff Rondo a thing of the past?
Nah.
Anyone, I don't care. It's more a joke than anything else.
Are we talking about Rondo?
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's more a joke than anything else.
Is this paranormal, Kev? Did I go back a couple of years?
All right, fine. Thanks a lot, guys. Next time you put a joke out there, I'm letting it sit. I'm just letting it sit. Thanks. All right, moving swiftly along to Sixers at Wizards. These are the Friday night games. Sixers minus 5.5 at Washington. Sixers blew them out last game, 120-95. Looks like Westbrook. I was saying he looked like he was hurt before. I guess now there's actually reports of him being injured. He's usually a gamer. He usually plays anyway. But I think the Wizards are in just bad shape. I don't think they have a shot in this series. I think Philly's just way too much. We'll start with one of the Sixer guys. King Michael, you go first.
The thing with Westbrook.
That's for the joke. That's for not reacting to the joke.
Oh, all right. Didn't Westbrook lose his shit and go after a guy in the stands for throwing popcorn on him in the last game?
Yeah.
But he's got a lot more going on, I think, than just physical ailments. Like I think we're watching a Westbrook. I mean, serious. I think we're watching a Westbrook who played a whole season where he averaged a triple friggin' double, and he's like Bigfoot. Some people don't even believe he exists, and then gets into the playoffs and his team just does this. So it makes him look like this. And he don't want to look like this. He wants to be on the Nets or the Lakers. He wants to be with the guys that are winning. So I think he's having a mental break. I really do. I think Westbrook's done. I don't see them coming back in any way. The Sixers put their foot on the throat, and it's done.
Yeah. So you think they win Game 3 and just set it up for a sweep?
The Sixers are sweeping. They're just going to win.
All right. Brother Ray.
Yeah, I mean, Coach and I were talking about this right before we got on the air tonight. It was just amazing how thorough of an ass whooping that they dished out on Washington. I really didn't expect that, especially after Game 1. But they defensively clamped down on them. I mean, Bradley Beal is going to get his 40 no matter what. And by the way, he is one of the best scorers I've seen in a long time. There is nothing that Beal cannot do on the basketball court. He is just amazing. Without him, they would have lost by 60.
Yeah.
The Sixers, I mean, they're firing on all cylinders. Their three-point shooters are hitting shots. Embiid is playing great. He's dishing the ball when he's doubled. Curry's hitting his shot. Tobias scared us a little bit when he went down, but even their backups, like when they put the youngsters in there in the fourth quarter last night, Maxey and Thibault put on the defensive clinic. And I'm just sitting there I just can't believe what I'm seeing. So I think something did happen, and I'm the most cautious Sixer fan there is. I think something did happen in that game yesterday, and I don't see Washington being a threat for the rest of that series.
Yeah, because you both were a little concerned at the beginning, and I think, like as I mentioned, you guys are nervous all the time for a team that's that good. Coach, what did you think of the game, the series? You were nervous too.
Not like
me.
Listen to the last 5 minutes of Monday. Here's the thing. You know what that reminded me of? That reminded me of in the 80s when the 8 played the 1 seed and it was a professional sweep, and it was like no one was coming and beating Boston, like when they would have whoever the 8 seed would be, and it would just be like, yeah, why are we even bothering with this series? That's what it felt like. It was like, we're better than this team. Get them out of here so we can get some rest. Like, get him out of here so Joel can rest his knees. And it's good. And to tag on to what Brother Ray said, every year I feel like Bradley Beal to the Sixers is a rumor somewhere. whether it's on Bleacher Report or whether it's on ESPN. Or if Bradley Beal comes to the Sixers, I'm in. Like, you can count me in on Bradley Beal. I love him. I love him more after watching these last two games than I did watching any of the regular season stuff, because this is the playoffs and he's scoring. And the Sixers don't really have an answer for him. But that team's not up to par. Get out of the series, get some rest, let the Knicks and Atlanta go beat each other up for 7 games. And like I said last week, we're going to the conference finals. I'm telling you right now. Sweep, take the Sixers, lay the points.
Yep. Yeah, the one thing I just don't like is when they switch first round series to 7 games, because you got something like this, they got to do it 2 more times. You got Brooklyn, Boston, they got to do it 2 more times. Like, obviously it's money reasons, it's TV reasons. They don't want an 8 getting hot for 3 games and beating a 1. But it's just like some of this is just garbage. Like the Nets, Celtics, the 76ers, Wizards are just going to be pretty much unwatchable. You're just going to kind of check the score and know the series is over.
I mean, these playoffs are long enough, and they don't want to do 8 games on a day. So now you're getting like 3 days rest on travel days, and the first round takes like 3 weeks. Yeah. You shouldn't be that. It could be a weekday game and a weekend, and you got 5 games done. Like, you can get 5 games done in 9 days in the NBA, the way these guys are used to playing. And then what happens is, if the Sixers win in 4, then it goes from, okay, we got rest, to, are they going to come out sluggish because they haven't played in 13 days? The NBA first round, there's no need for it, because you can just as well get a 5-game series, be just as exciting, in some of the closer ones. But there's no need to play this team 2 more times.
Exactly. Agreed. All right. So moving into the last series, so it's Jazz Grizzlies. That's been pretty interesting. Obviously, very exciting games. Got a little drama around the injury situation. We got the kind of growth of Memphis coming out. So it's tied 1-1. Memphis won the first game in Utah. Jazz handled them pretty handily in the second game, 141-129. I hate scores like that. Like some of these other series we talked about almost look like 90 scores, like the Knicks Hawks, the Suns Lakers, even not Heat Bucks, but those 2 I mentioned are kind of like 90s, like bruiser type series. That game last night was just so much scoring. It was hard to keep up, and the Jazz would build a 20-point lead. Memphis would come back, cut it to 10 or 9, then the Jazz would go way up again. And it was good to see Donovan Mitchell back. I'm sure you guys heard the drama about, he said he was fine for game 1 and they should have let him play, but they didn't. Jazz still turning it on. Kind of all the kind of vague, like, big picture storylines. But I'm kind of curious. TJ, we'll start with you. What do you see for the rest of the series? Like, going to Memphis, Utah's a 5-point favorite for game 3 on Friday night.
I think we had talked about overreaction weekend last week, and I think we all kind of forgot that Utah won 52 games in a shortened season. Like, Utah's for real, and Memphis backed into the playoffs and probably shouldn't even been in the playoff tournament. So it's cool they won game 1. This is good for Morant overall long term, but there's no way Memphis is. They were just exposed last night. It just didn't look. It just doesn't look like they have a chance to match up with them overall for 2 weeks. So to me, I like Utah to go in Memphis and win 2 of the games, and probably win this in 5.
All right, so that's definitely a bold prediction. What do you think of Ja? He dropped 47 last night, 15 of 20 from the line, 15 26 field goals, 2 of 7 3-pointers. Like, obviously monster game. I think he's like the 3rd youngest guy to score 40 in a playoff game, and he ended up almost with 50. I think he would have been the youngest if he hit 50. But is this carry over to the next season? Is this lightning in a bottle? Like, what do you see there?
No, I think it does, because he's so young, and this is going to put his confidence level on extra. So to me, he comes into next year. He'll probably be overrated in fantasy drafts, but he's a guy that is going to make a bunch of all-star teams, and he knows it, and this kind of seals the deal on that. No one can stay in front of him. He's so quick, and he shoots the ball really well. So they're a team on the rise. This isn't the year for it. But as far as Morant goes, this absolutely carry into next year, and you'll start seeing him on the in the top 10 players under 25, and you'll see him as the top 7 or 8 point guards. I mean, he's establishing himself to be at that level in the playoffs. In the NBA, the playoffs count way more than the regular season does. So he's been very impressive. The last 2 weeks, the last 5 games he's played, he's been ridiculous.
All right, guy. Yeah, he's been awesome to watch. All right, King, we'll go to you for your thoughts on the series. So obviously, tied 1-1. We go to Memphis. Jazz are favored by 5. How do you see the next game going in the series overall?
So these are two teams that I would root for. Like, the two teams that I like watching play. And it's unfortunate that they have to play each other so early in the playoffs. But it's like, can the Jazz hold court? Can they just keep doing who they are and win this series? Or can Memphis shake it up enough to force like a Game 7? And he's right. For Morant, this is like battle scars. This is like building him up and making him, like a callus. Like, next year he'll be better for it. He needs this. And if it goes 7, all the better for everybody involved. So I don't know. I kind of see it going 7. And if it goes 7, I think everyone would assume the Jazz have that on lock. But I think that would be one of the most interesting Game 7s out of the whole entire playoffs. So for tonight's game, I'm going to say the Jazz will probably lock up and go up 2-1. But I'm holding out that it might still go 7.
Yeah, I think if it goes 7, I would probably have to view it as almost as a failure for the Jazz, like, because that would be a very tough thing for them. But Brother Ray, your thoughts on the series and on Game 3, which is actually Friday night. It's not tonight. They play Friday. Jazz -5.
Yeah, I mean, I think Memphis, they have 3 solid pieces going forward. I mean, Ja, Brooks, and Valanciunas are 3 really young, solid pieces that they can build on for the future. So I think they're in good shape going forward. I don't think they're going to win this series, but I think they could take it to the brink. Utah had an unbelievable game. 7 players in double figures. The home crowd, I mean, they're the best home team in the NBA. And they really, I mean, I think Memphis, though, survived the onslaught. Like, they lost by 12, but they should have lost by like 40. And I like what I saw from them in the game. Yeah, there was something off. Gobert was dominant. Ingles, I mean, everything was working for Utah. And when things happen, like, that's going to happen in the NBA. There's going to be nights where your opponent's just going to have everything working. How do you react to it? They lost by 12. I think they're going to come back the next game. I think they're going to come back the next game. They may actually even win the next game. I do think they're going to lose the series, but I like the mettle of this Memphis team.
Yeah.
Can I add one thing really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So what I always learned was, and maybe Coach would probably more than attest to this, like, if I had a team playing and the other team came out red hot, hitting everything, I would go get one of my bigger guys and be like, dude, cause a foul, stop this game, let's change up the tempo. Like, do something that stops this momentum. Like, you got to do something that just, and then I would take a timeout. Like, I would just let them cool down. You got to stop them from being that hot, because sometimes, man, they get going, a team gets going, it's all net from everywhere on the court.
Yeah.
So Utah, that's what they do. Like, they consistently put 6-7 guys in double figures, and putting Mitchell back in, it looked like he didn't miss a beat. I mean, I'm not watching every Utah game. I'm not gonna lie to anybody, but that looked like a team that was very comfortable in their skin doing what they're doing, and they were a 52-win team. So you guys think it's going to be a long series? I think it's going to be quick. I think we saw the Memphis win. I don't think there's going to be another one. I'd be surprised if there is. And by the way, Jaren Jackson's going to be a good player. You were talking about Memphis has. Jaren Jackson he's a baby. Like, he's like 20. I believe he's 21 years old. If not, he's 22. He's not 25. And he's got a lot of skill. And as part of that core in Memphis, yeah, big kid. He's a Jay Billis wingspan guy. Like, he's a long guy. Actually, ESPN's got him listed at 6'11". So I like him a lot. Like, as like a four-man too. He's getting better. Yeah. So that core, hopefully they're happy staying in Memphis. Hopefully they love the city of Memphis and they really embrace it. But I would hate to see what happened in Oklahoma City be something that happens with Memphis, because they're not like it's not a sexy place. Although nationally, Memphis is one of the hotter cities in the country in terms of people moving into different cities. Nashville probably more so, but Tennessee in itself. So hopefully those guys stay together, because I do like the core. and I think Jackson's part of it. He's worth mentioning.
Can we talk about the Utah jerseys, please?
Well, I want to say one more thing about the game quickly, because what's really interesting about that game is they put up 141 points. They won by 12, decent win, but they shot 19 of 39 from three. That's almost 50%. So if they had missed a couple more 3-pointers, it would have been a much different game. And like everybody's on the Jazz, including myself, and maybe I need to kind of put my foot on the brakes a little bit because they're probably not going to shoot 50% from three every single game. And the Grizzlies only shot like 8 for 23. So a little more variance there, and it could have been a very different game. So anyway, all right, go ahead, Ray.
I mean, is it me? Do those Utah jerseys actually look like the old Denver Nugget jerseys?
They're from the Stevie Wonder collection. Yeah, they're horrendous. They should not be worn in public.
Can we just take all jerseys in all sports? Why don't we just take all the jerseys in all the sports and just go back to the 80s? Like whatever
Exactly.
shit you wore in the 80s, put that back on.
Can't do that. They can't do that because the WNBA created an innovative jersey that's better for the athletes.
Oh, come on, don't go there.
We've already gone over that.
I'm sorry.
When's
I'm
the
sorry.
game, King?
Oh, us against
Yeah.
them? Hey, by the way, do you know why they shoot so many jumpers in the WNBA? Because
Why?
women can't drive.
Oh,
Thank you. Good night.
at least you saved the best one for last. That's good.
Yeah.
Actually, I had two more legitimate questions. I'm gonna save them. All right. On that note, we're gonna wrap up legit fantasy basketball for the face that runs this place, aka King Mike L, for Coach TJ, for Brother Ray. No final comments. We are done. We're out. We'll talk to you about next time we talk. 2 more games for each series will be in the books, and we'll go from there.